What's up, guys? Jaydaniel here with my co-host Vic. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Nico Moreno. Go ahead and launch things off, Victor.
Yeah. So, guys, this is a special episode. When we first started this podcast, we were thinking, who could we bring on? Who are some titans in the industry that we could bring in with knowledge and skill and really actually helping people? And I've kind of crossed paths with Nico myself a few times and just kind of heard what he's done and some of the people that he's helped. And it may surprise you the many people that he's touched with his business, but we couldn't be more excited to have Nico on. Nico, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you both for the kind and warm intro. And yeah, I'm super thrilled to be here and just chat with you guys and share my experiences and hopefully help your guys' audience and listeners.
Nice. So, Nico, for those who don't know you and what you do, can you give a little bit of a synopsis of who you are and what it is that you do in the industry?
For sure, yeah. So my name is Nico Moreno. For those of you who haven't heard of me or interacted with me, primarily the areas that I focus on are like systems and optimization that allow an online business to scale. So primarily we work with people who are already generating $10, $20, even $50,000 per month and help them kind of make that next leap up to, again, if they're on the lower end of the spectrum, help them leap up to maybe $40,000, $50,000 per month. And if they're on the higher end of the spectrum, maybe up to $100,000 per month, or even more than that. So yeah, we really focus on, this isn't to say that we don't work with people who are brand new. We certainly do, but kind of my area of expertise is helping people refine, streamline, and optimize their online sales process for the product that they already are selling. So, just our ideal client and people who get the most out of what I teach and what I have to offer, they already have their product or their offer kind of selling and converting.
Nice. What would you say? What would you say the biggest tell for a business who's going to be successful? Because you work with a lot of businesses, you work with a lot of different types of niches. So what's the biggest tell of a business that you're like, yeah, they've got it, they're going to be successful, all they need is a little help?
Yeah, it's from what I've seen in my experience, it's the attitude of the CEO and like the mindset of the CEO and whether or not they will just go out and implement and not make, like, without excuses, I guess is the best way to put it, to put it nicely. Really the game plan that, that I use myself and also like the game plan and the strategies that I help my clients with is very largely the same for everyone, right? And so what I've seen, the people who have, the clients who've had the most success in a very short amount of time are the ones who, they get started like the same day that we give them the plan. And I've just seen that. I think that that's not too surprising, but it's just the people who go out there and they make it happen and they have a great attitude of an overall positive attitude. But even when something goes wrong or even when things don't work, which they inevitably will not work at some point, like you're going to hit a ton of roadblocks, but it's the people that just ask the right questions or ask better questions. Like, okay, this didn't work so well. Like, how can I improve this? Or like, what can I do like tomorrow instead? Instead of having the mindset of like, it didn't work, I'm done forever, So I would say it comes down to that, honestly. Like it's not the strategies, it's not the systems, it's not the fancy copywriting or ads or funnels. Like it's literally that.
Really the people that need, like, whenever they have a problem, they're quick to fix it instead of just kind of sitting on their hands.
Yeah, exactly. And not even necessarily quick to fix it, but quick to seek out a solution, right? Like they may not get the solution on their own or right away, but like they're just solution minded and realizing that, nobody's going to come and save you. Like you're the one that's going to save yourself.
Do you feel like that's a hard shift for some people? Or do you feel like everybody has that innately in them? They just have to tap into it?
That's a great question. I feel like it can certainly be developed 100%. Like, I feel like I had to develop that in myself. I don't feel that I was naturally, I guess, like born with that, or I don't feel like I innately had that trait or that awareness, but I definitely, just hitting wall after wall after wall after wall, and still I don't really know why sometimes, but like just still going forward and still wanting to make it work. I did develop that trait in myself, like just realizing, even if today was just awful and it just sucked and everything went wrong, at the end of the day, like there's nobody else out there that's going to save me. Like it's got to be me. So I've got to just pick myself up tomorrow. So I think there are a good amount of people who they do have that mindset already.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if it's hard to say, who really knows if they were born with it or they developed that earlier on, but I think it can absolutely be developed.
Yeah. You talk about developing things in your own life. For those who don't know, you've got a pretty interesting story of how you came from, where you were to where you are now. I mean, we see the plaques on the wall, and it's no small feat that you're where you are. Do you mind delving into that, telling us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I can try and give you the condensed version, but essentially, kind of where I started, my very first job ever was unpacking boxes at Nordstrom at 5 a.m., like before the store was even open. So it was like pitch black. Usually the lights, like I was the one to turn on the lights in the morning. It was a very lonely, just, had a lot of time to think about, really about how unhappy I was in that position. And yeah, it was, that was my very first job. It was something that every single morning, I really kind of just dreaded going in. I would wake up at 3:45 and, with enough time to like shower, eat breakfast and whatnot and drive there, I was in there at 5. And that, after enough time, it just got to the point where I didn't know how to get out of that situation. And I really just I didn't ever want to have to do that again. And so there were some times where I was at like a very low point. I was just like, hopefully I just won't wake up tomorrow and like I won't have to deal with that. But, eventually I kind of started to listen to, I can't really tell you how, but, I started listening to and reading books by like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins. And Tim Ferriss was another one. I just somehow came across some of their information on the internet and just started listening to their stuff. And at that point, I was like working my way through college as well. And, once I was done with college, I realized, wow, I really don't want to have a traditional job. It just sounds awful. But, given the financial situation that I was in, and then also having college debt, I was like, you know what, I kind of just have to do something right now where I can get some money coming in. So I ended up getting a job at a software company in the Bay Area. It's a pretty big company. And, it was a very corporate job. It paid well, but I really also did not enjoy it very much. So yeah, still that whole time, I was grateful to be there overall. Like it was definitely, financially, it was what I needed. So it was really good for that. But the whole time, I was still kind of listening to 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss listening to his podcast, reading like just lots of Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki. And I just started to realize, okay, there are ways to make money without me working for an employer. Like that was literally the first big realization that I had to make because I just didn't know that before. So once I started to realize that, I started actually taking some online courses, like very small ones. They were like $47 or whatever, just to figure out like, I literally typed in how to make money online, like in Google, which, I don't think many people actually just do something that basic, but I literally did that. And I like found a course online and I bought the course. I thought it might have been a scam at first, but it actually ended up working. And I made like a couple $100. It was teaching people how to make like passive income with Kindle books on Amazon. And so it actually worked. And that just like opened up my mind to the fact that, okay, online business is a real thing. And I can, this specific avenue isn't making me a ton of money, but online business as a whole, like, is real. So that was a really key realization for me. And, fast forward a little bit of time, I actually ended up quitting my job because I was like, I can't do it anymore. And, at that point I had some money saved up, and I actually moved to Japan, and also was working, like, at the very same time, was kind of like full focus on online business. Like, how do I make this work? How do I get, I wasn't sure if I was going to do a client business or courses or whatever, but I ended up hiring a business coach because I realized after about 5 or 6 months of trying on my own, I was just like, I was not really making very much progress. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hire a business coach who seems legit. And she luckily was very legit. And I just realized, like, I don't think I'm actually going to figure this out on my own. So I better just work with someone who knows how to do it already. So within the first month, I made about, I think I made like $1,000 to $3,000. It was something that was like the most I'd ever made in a month. And I was like, but it wasn't like a groundbreaking amount, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Then within a few months, I actually had my first $10,000 month. And I was, at that point, I was doing like freelance copywriting and like digital marketing services, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the easiest thing for me to get started with. Then I actually made the transition into the ClickFunnels world, started offering done for you ClickFunnels, because I noticed, and this is like, I was listening to my clients or prospects when I was talking with them on the phone. And keep in mind, I did not have a sales I literally didn't have anything. I didn't have a sales process. I wasn't reading like a sales call script or anything. I was just like, hey, like, you want copywriting? Like, let's talk. Like, I can do it for you. But what I noticed was a lot of people prospects who I would not close and they wouldn't sign up. A lot of basically the reason why was because they also wanted a ClickFunnels funnel done as well. They didn't just want the copy. They wanted like the whole funnel. So then I started realizing, like, okay, I should probably just learn how to build funnels, because that's why I'm losing all these clients. So then I learned how to use ClickFunnels, and it actually, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but I probably picked it up in like a month. And then, then I started offering done for you ClickFunnels funnels, and I actually closed a $10,000 paid in full done for you ClickFunnels funnel within like 3 or 4 weeks of deciding to do that, right? So, and again, like, I had coaches this whole time, so it wasn't like I was just blindly going out there and trying to figure it out. But that was a really big step for me, because that wasn't like more than double like that I had ever charged, and like they just paid in full. So that opened my eyes up to the world of like high ticket sales. And I was also doing this all on Facebook organically, which is still right now is one of the primary ways that I generate leads and that I teach my clients to generate leads. So this was all on like Facebook organic way back in, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe, probably like 4 or 5. When honestly it was a lot easier. Like, people didn't really, Facebook organic wasn't like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you knew how to do it, like, it was really, really good money. It's still effective today, but more people do it now. So, but yeah, that was kind of like how I got, I guess, my first step into actually having an online business. And then from there, I don't know if you want me to keep going, but like then there was like the next phase of personal growth and business growth.
Yeah, and now you help people figure out what that is for them. Like, you touched on a few things that I think are very important that Jaydaniel and I hit all the time. Like, first, you started reading, which, I mean, there's nothing better for your self-growth when you're just starting out, to just read what somebody else has done and read people who've done it and who've got the right mindset. And then you said something very key. You said you hired a coach because you had no idea what you were doing and you're struggling on your own. So you were just like, you know what, let me find someone who's done it and let me go out and do the same thing. Like, let me just hire them so that they can teach me how. And then you start to see development, then you start to see growth, and you start to see the wheels spinning and turning, and then the money starts coming in, and you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then once that's stable, once that foundation is there, you're like, all right, let me kill it now. And now you've got two plaques behind you on the wall. I think it's really, really cool that, and I've heard some of your story before. I've kind of followed you a little bit for a while. So I know, a little bit of how you came up, but I think it's really cool that you just tried it. You were trying things and you were like, listen, I just want to put this out there and see what happens. And like you said, no sales process, no script. You're just like, dude, I got copywriting. Do you want some? Like, and that it works because it's genuine. It's genuine, authentic business. And I think people are missing that today. They're missing the genuine authenticity in business, and they're thinking it has to be sales process. Well, it's very important. Sales process is very important. All of these things are important, but if you lack that genuine, just, I want to talk to you. And it's something that we talk about all the time. Like, it's just a conversation. Like, and it's crazy how much people miss that, and they try to systemize the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And you see that, and no disrespect to anyone who's just starting out, but please, like, start out scripts and processes. It's really great. But what you do see a lot of people who are maybe starting out and they struggle is they are following too much of a scripted process, and they're not being human, and like, you can tell when you get messages from people who, they're just copy and pasting a message. It's like, okay, well, I can tell that you're not being real, and that you're not being human, and that you're just pasting this message. So I'm probably not going to respond. But here's the thing: if you have a good sales process in place, and you actually, you learn the basics of, appointment setting, and then having the call, and then good follow-up process. If you understand that, and you're personable and genuine, you will make so much money that you will not even know what to do with it. If you have both of those.
Yeah.
So I think that was, when I was still figuring things out, I was just very I was very genuine with the people that I was talking with, and I still have that. I think it's just because that's kind of just part of who I am. So I didn't really have to develop that too much, but B, I was like, why would you not do that? I'm trying to build a business that's going to fund my life.
Mm-hmm.
And these are customers who are paying money to me over the internet. I should be genuine to them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm curious for you, how much do you think that your sales have evolved since the first time you took a call, you're talking to a client, as opposed to further down the road, you're starting to make 10K sales? How would you describe that kind of?
That's a good question. I love that question. So the full transparency, I do not see myself as a good salesperson. And I currently, I've had closers who close for me, and currently operate that way too. That's not to say that I don't sometimes take sales calls, but I would say, in terms of how it's evolved for me, I really just think it's because I think the only reason that I'm even remotely good at closing is because I just have the conviction and the experience of knowing that what I'm saying and what I've done actually works. I literally think that's the only thing. That's the only thing I have going for me. Because I don't use a script, and when I have used scripts, they didn't really work very well for me. Mm-hmm. So I truly just think that it's that, and it's the fact that it's me, and I'm the personal brand, and there's usually some amount of rapport and trust built before the call even happens. So, and I do that by design, because I'm a big fan of organic marketing. It's very, very effective, and it's been one of the, it's been the most, how do I say this? Most of our sales have come from organic marketing efforts. So it's been by far the biggest chunk of our sales. But yeah, I truly would say for me personally as a closer, it's just the fact that I have the conviction in myself and what I've done and what I offer. It's not so much, an actual closing script or process.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. No, it's huge, right? Like I think structure is cool, but like if you have conviction, I've met people with conviction that they don't know anything about sales and never read a sales book, but they have a bunch of conviction and they're balling out of control. A couple celebrities that we all may know, but
Oh, really?
oh yeah, dude, crazy. I've seen a number of accounts, but something else. So and this kind of goes more into like fulfillment side, maybe kind of just like what's the thing, because I was in the industry in 2016. When you run a Facebook ad with anything, you're probably gonna make money, right? As long as you know.
Yeah.
Now in organic too, right? Like organic reach, like how effective it is compared to back then, right?
Oh yeah, totally different.
What are your, so from what I understand, you kind of help on the organic side with like Facebook, right? Like
Yeah, that's been our main platform.
mhm,
And especially when someone's a bit more on the beginner side of things, that's also the platform that we help our clients with.
mhm. What are you for, I guess, for how long do you feel like the at least Facebook organic will be effective with the way Meta and everything's moving around?
That's a great question. I mean, honestly, I it's hard to say that, I don't know if anyone really knows the answer.
Mhm,
In terms of, in terms of like online business and like, high ticket offers and the whole like, organic side for that specifically, I really, unless something major happens, like I really believe that if you follow like the good principles of lead generation and providing like valuable content and understand how to like have conversations with people and like just take them through a sales process and warm them up and build trust, like show that the call is going to be valuable before the call, and then like get them excited for the call. Like if you understand how to do all of that, yeah, Facebook algorithm might change, and it has changed, but it's still, the process overall is still going to be effective, like regardless of the platform. So, Facebook, even for me, like Facebook has definitely changed just in the past 12 months. Like 1 year ago, like right now, it was like honestly a lot easier than it is right now. But we're still doing really well with Facebook organic, and like, our clients are still doing really well with Facebook organic, specifically because it's not so much about like hacks or like secrets or algorithms. It's like a lot more about understanding like the process of, reaching out to someone, seeing if there's even a problem to be solved, and then like understanding how to qualify them for your offer and also show them that the call is going to like provide value for them and it's not just a sales call. And then like that whole process, it really doesn't have anything to do with the platform.
Yep. And that's
so, like, yeah.
No, and that's the beauty of things like just reading, right? Like you guys were kind of going back and forth on the reading part. Like that's a huge commonality I see, right? Like the people that really crush it, like they're just well studied. They just understand like the fundamentals so well they can kind of pivot to like any platform, right? It's more about like the owner than the platform or the tool or the technique, and their psychology. How do you think your, because I know you've been kind of reading and studying a lot, like how big of an effect do you think that has had on your trajectory, like in business?
You mean like reading in general, or like listening?
Yeah. Let's say that like for you weren't a reader or you weren't like just a learner, right?
Okay. Yeah, I got it. I mean, I probably have like $0 in my bank account. Seriously.
What if you bought all the books but you didn't read them?
I guess I have negative.
That's the unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I think that was a really great question that illustrates like, I mean, you can change your whole trajectory just by listening to and applying ideas from like one person whose content is free. Like so long as they're good. Like, I mean, some of the people, I'm sure you guys know them, but like Alex Hormozy and Layla Hormozy, over the past year, like they've totally changed the trajectory of like everything for me. And literally, I mean, it costs zero, like it costs nothing. You can listen to them for free. But you have to like listen with intent, but their content is just so good. And it's really like easy to apply, honestly. They kind of help you think about things in a different way. And yeah, I mean, without them, like, and without a lot of other people, like there's a lot of people who I've read or listened to who have changed the way that I think or changed the way that I perceive the world. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I really don't believe, and there was a time when I did believe this, that just like reading and thinking was like enough. It's not enough. Like you absolutely have to put in like the hours and like do the hard, boring work that sometimes kind of sucks, but like you actually have to just do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, without changing your thinking and like without reading and learning from people who are just light years ahead of you, or at least light years ahead of me, yeah, I mean, you have like almost no chance.
Yeah, I think that one of the fallacies in content and reading is that everybody's looking for something new. What's the new content? What's the new thing? But you mentioned Tim Ferriss and a lot of these other people. These books have been out for years. This content's been out for years. This concept of put yourself in a position to be successful. All these things are concepts that have been reiterated over decades. And people are looking for the new thing, the new shiny, squirrel. And they're not seeing that there's nothing magical about success. It's all just work after systemized process and method. So once you find your method, once you find your process, once you find what's going to get you there, it's just putting that work in to do it. And like, Jaydaniel alluded to, you can buy all the books you want, you can listen to all the content you want, but if you're not going to put the work in, it's you can hope and dream all you want that you're going to be successful. You can have all the faith in the world, but like my grandma used to say, faith takes feet, right? So you gotta walk, you gotta get to where you want to be. And if you're not willing to do that, then how are we going to be successful? And it's almost like you're almost like slapping success in the face, thinking that it's just going to come to you, and you're only hurting yourself. And I think that's a mentality that a lot of people, if they could get over, they would be so successful.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. I think it's a really hard pill to swallow, like the first time that you ever swallow it, the first time you ever realize it. But once you do, you're like, oh, this makes sense. Like I actually do need to work hard. But it's not actually, but then once you get over that, it's not actually that much hard work. It's just like, it's battling your mind to convince yourself like, okay, I actually do have to like do some stuff today to be successful. And so once you can just accept that, then, you're going to be making progress like pretty much daily if you just follow that pattern.
If you guys, by the way, have you guys seen like The Last Dance with Michael Jordan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Michael Jordan had like a little Netflix TV show type thing. They just told his life story. And like, it's funny because he's the best guy in the world, right? And like, with basketball, there's a bunch of like fancy moves people do, a bunch of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like all Michael Jordan ever practiced was the fundamentals. Like that's it.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting with like the greats and just people who are so good at what they do. They literally just focus on the fundamentals and doing them over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, that brings me to a question. Go. Are you a routine kind of guy? Do you do the same things every single day, same time, or are you more of a free spirit with how you operate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a very rigid routine person. Very. Sometimes to a fault. And I don't know if I would say a fault, but like sometimes at the expense of things that might be like fun or enjoyable. Like I sometimes will not do those just because it doesn't jive with my routine or the things that I want, the things that I plan to do initially. But yeah, I'm very much like a routine person. So if you want to talk about any of that, I'm happy to.
Were you always that way, or did you develop that? you know, some people are just born type A, just like, well, but did you have to develop that through discipline?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think honestly, I went through like phases. So I would say there was kind of phase one where, like, honestly, in high school and college, and like right after college, I was very like rigid and very structured. Um, and well, let me just like talk you through this because it might make more sense. So like high school and college, you know, I would like all weekend really, I would like study really hard. And when I went to college, I was on the USC triathlon team, and we had practice. I think it was like at 6 a.m. before any classes happened. So, you know, I would wake up usually at 5:30 or maybe even like 5:15. I can't really remember, but it was around like 5:15 or 5:30, like, you know, during college every morning, and go to the workout, which would be like for an hour or an hour and a half, and then shower, have class, and then we have another workout at night, and then, you know, homework and stuff. So I was very structured, very rigid, woke up really early, which I think was a really good habit to build. And honestly, it was constantly like I constantly had things on my calendar. And I think that's one thing that I still like kind of live by today and has really served me, is like just planning out my day and like using a calendar app. But I think a lot of people just like don't do that. And just the simple act of doing that, like really, it can be profound, like the amount that you can get done when you just have it on a calendar. So, you know, I had that kind of phase in my life. And then right after college, you know, I was, you know, I was working that corporate job that I really didn't like. And also I was also in like this coding boot camp. I didn't mention this before, but I was in a coding boot camp like on the side because I was like, I want to get out of this and I want to find something else. I was also in a coding boot camp that I did at night and in the morning. And so, you know, I had to like do that on top of the job, on top of like my regular job. And also, you know, go to the gym still in the morning. So yeah, I had a very rigid routine. Then once I started having it's interesting because once I started having some success with like online marketing, and, you know, this was probably after, I don't think I had my first, it was not when I was at my first 2-pound club yet, but it was after I had been like, you know, in the online marketing game for at least like 1 or 2 years, and I was kind of getting some success. I kind of started to I went into this like lazy phase where I was like, oh, like, you know, I work for this. Like the whole point of online business is so that you don't have to work hard. And so like, I'm just not going to work hard and I'm just going to be lazy all the time. And I mean, just everything derailed and it was really bad. And I was really unhappy too. Like I was just I would waste whole days doing like literally nothing, like watching Vine and YouTube. And like, it was just literally a waste. And I wasn't happy and I wasn't like, my business like kind of started like declining very much. And so it was just, you know, it was awful. And so then there was a point when I was like, Nico, like, why are you doing this? Like, you have so much more that you want to accomplish. And like, you just need to own up to the fact that you're literally causing like all of this unhappiness in your own life, and you're causing like your business to go downhill for no reason. So like I don't know if I'm allowed to say like certain words, but like wake the hell up and, you know, like get your head back in the game. And so, you know, it was right around, it was actually right around when COVID started that, you know, I was, you know, I was like I kind of like started to get back in the game, but right around when COVID started, I had actually joined, this is the second mastermind of Alex Becker's that I joined. I was in his earlier one, but I joined a new mastermind with Alex Becker. And like, that was kind of when I really got my head back in the game. He taught us a lot about like dopamine fasting or whatever, you know, whatever that was called. And that really helped me just like get my head back in the game. I met really good people, really good friends who are still my best friends today. Learned a lot of really good skills, and just like, you know, that was kind of that was when I like got to another new level in like life and business and focus and productivity and also like money. So yeah, I kind of forgot what the initial question was.
That was good. So for you, like, isn't it fascinating how, like, when we know that we're not like on our purpose and doing the right stuff, like it's all like, right? Like it's almost like your freaking spirit is like, you lazy piece of shit, I refuse to do this.
Yeah, no, totally. I was like, and it's just so funny because I look back on that time and like, I mean, it was probably, I can't really remember, like at least 6 months, probably a year, maybe.
Mhm.
And I was like, I mean, I was just like, I didn't have a good social life even at the time. Like, I don't even know what I was doing. Like, there was just nothing was really that fulfilling, and yet I was like totally okay with it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's something about, what you do here, you do everywhere, whatever that saying is,
Yeah, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
exactly. And it's like when you're out of sync in one area in your life, you're gonna feel it everywhere else, and it's gonna start to feel very like drab and depressing and just blah. And then as soon as you get that alignment, it's like you go to the chiropractor and you get that alignment, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, things are functioning better. My life is flowing a little bit better. I feel better about business, about life, about family, about relationships. And it's really interesting, once you kind of like check yourself, take that inventory and like really check yourself, how much like things change very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, totally. And I think it can't be, what's the right way to say this? Like, you also have to take into account, like, I think, or how do I say this? A lot of people don't take into account how much just being surrounded by other people. So like I mentioned, I joined a specific mastermind. Like just being around and like talking with other people who are, either they're on the same level as you and they're like focused on a similar mission, or they're like way ahead of you. Like just being around that, like that can cause you to just wake up and like, and be like, wow, like, they're doing that. Like I could be there if I were more focused, and yet I'm not. So like, wake up.
It's almost it's like this tribal thing, right? Like the people around us, that kind of becomes our like reality per se.
100%.
You talk to the, I'll go to the gym and I have friends that I work out with that are miles ahead of me in terms of the gym, right? And then that then we talk about like business and stuff, and and they're like they look at me almost weird, right? Like because in their world everybody makes $20 an hour,
Yeah.
And, it's fascinating how like the group that you surround yourself with, you almost like it's literally, it's osmosis, right? Like a low standard in that group would be considered excellent anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
The billionaire that's, fuck man, I gotta get my shit together. Like, really, do you? Really?
Yeah.
You have to get there.
No, it's so true. That's why it's really important to like be cognizant of who you compare yourself to. And I know that may sound like, maybe that sounds bad, like, shouldn't really compare yourself to anyone, but if it's useful and it's helpful, like, and it gets you to your goals, like, why not compare yourself to other people?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That's a really good point.
A lot of people, like your parents will always be like, oh, like, don't compare yourself to anyone else. It's like, I mean, but why? Like, then I'll just be average, and I don't want to be average.
Exactly. People say like, be better than who you were the day before, and I think that has merit, but like only if you're literally every single day better, right?
Yeah.
I think like, you know what I mean? I think something that you see a lot, like especially the people that have been, I used to work in a dealership like 6 years ago, right? And there were always like the top performers who like, I'm the best, I'm God's gift to earth. You're cool, 10 grand a month, right? And it's like, if you feel that way, there's no need to get any bigger, right? And you'll kind of stay there.
Yeah.
I think it's that same kind of thing, I recently hired a coach, and like, everybody around me have been saying, oh dude, you're doing good, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? I was like, you're right. Like your standards, where are they? Like, yeah, like he has like 7% body fat, and making 10 times what I'm making, and it's like, only when you have that moment where you really get like kind of called out, it's like, oh, like new standard, you know?
Totally. No, that just happened to me again like a month ago when I signed up for like a newer program. So yeah, there's always another level.
Yeah, it's like you've never truly arrived. You're always ascending, but you'll never
Yeah.
be there. And if you get there, there's a problem. Like you've always got to, I mean, look at these big billionaires. Look at, Mark Cuban. He's always trying to find something new. Look at, like Grant Cardone, like all these people who've got all this money and they're doing all these big things and people look up to them and they're like, wow, look at these guys. But they're always after something else. I mean, look at Elon, right? The guy is like, no, okay, I've got everything that I need on Earth. So it's time for me to go to Mars. You know what I mean? Like the only, and you might think that's an insane person, but no, it's a driven person, a person who wants to be better than he was every single day, but also realizes that he's got to push himself to new limits or else he's not going to be fulfilled.
Oh, Elon, if you're watching this, I'm waiting for it's been 3 years since I put my down payment. I love Elon.
Still waiting
This
on
guy
that
will
truck, buddy.
I know, I think it's a good thing, but this guy will take on like 50 projects at once. It's insane. Like he sold all his houses and his mansion so he could have like 1% more focus. There's videos of him sleeping in like his freaking one of his like warehouses, like, but I think that's when we're the happiest. As weird as it sounds, especially for like men, in my opinion. I think when we're kind of in that, like almost like the cave where every day we're progressing in one thing, I think that's when we're like the happiest. That's the human.
Yeah, I agree. And it's weird though, because it's also, and I don't know if you guys feel this way too, but for me, it's like, I definitely feel that, but then there's a point where you can only do that for like so many days in a row. And then then you just like, you need a break.
Yeah.
Like you just,
but then after like, a day or two of the break, then you're like, fuck this break. Let's get back.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. But that happened to me like literally this past weekend. I did like literally, and for probably a solid month, like, without taking really days off, I'm just like go, 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 go. And I made a ton of progress and I felt really, really good. And then, just like come last Friday, I was like, I don't even care. Like, I just need time off. So I just did like nothing for 3 days.
Focus is intoxicating. And I think that as men, we're really good at focusing. We're really good at focusing in on the one thing that we really want to do. But then once that pleasure hits of like accomplishing, it's like, all right, I feel bad that I've accomplished that. I'm feeling joy off of this. I think I need to get back in the mud. And I think that's just kind of like inherent in men in general. But yeah, I agree completely. It's that, when you're grinding it out, when you're like, shoulder to shoulder in the war, like, even though all hell could be breaking loose around you, like, that's when you're most comfortable. That's when you're most serene. That's when you're most focused. And that's when you get the most done. And like, that's such a strange place to be. Maybe we all need therapy, but like, it's, I mean, it's what it is. It's the cycle. It's just, you get it, you grind it out, you get to where you want to be, and then you find something else to grind it out about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just part of the entrepreneurial journey or cycle.
I think that's just how we were, as humans, that's how we're built. You kind of adapt to things, you can adapt to bad things, good things. But
yeah, exactly.
no, this was super cool. Nico, it's been good meeting you, man. Actually, this is our first time jumping on too. So anybody watching, like, where can they like follow you, hear about you, like what's kind of the plug?
Yeah, great question. So I mean, if you want to connect or you want to follow me, probably the two best places to just get connected with me are Facebook. You can just search Nico Moreno, hit me up there. Very responsive to messages on there, so you can just reach out, add me as a friend, or Instagram as well at Nico Moreno Official. You can also just send me a message there, follow me there. But social platforms like that where there's like messaging, that's where I hang out, so you can get in touch with me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nico, for coming on. It's been great. I think those who are listening learned a lot. And I think that what really, I think the main focus here has just been, just get out there and do it, put the work in and keep trying to get better at it, keep grinding, keep trying to ascend to where you really want to be, and have that mentality of let's just keep at it so that we can be successful. And I think that's important to see people like you who've done it, because there's a lot of people out there who's like, it can never be me. But here you are, living proof that all you have to do is put the work in and keep getting better and seek guidance along the way, and you can get to where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the truth. And like, try to make it fun if you can. Like, that's honestly, I would say that's a more recent learning of mine. It's like, it doesn't have to suck.
Yeah.
It can actually be like mostly pretty fun. There will be, there's of course stuff that's not fun that you just have to do anyway, but might as well try your best to make it fun and enjoyable in your journey to wherever you're going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll quote that next time. I'll have that on my t-shirt.
Try to make it fun.
That was awesome. We appreciate having you on, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It was a pleasure, and thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, this has been the Sales at Home podcast with Vic and Jaydaniel, our special guest Nico Moreno. We will see you next week.
Peace.